Howdy, howdy. Welcome to We Talk Sports, presented by WeTV Catamount Entertainment. I'm Dom Saini, the host. You could have seen me over the WeTV Cast Sport Anchor. And joining me is my co-host, Owen Fleming. You can see him on We Watch, also co-hosting there, as well as Jacob Pendergraft. He is, of course, the director of Chats with Cats. So welcome, guys, to this very special and first episode of We Talk Sports.
Thanks, Dom. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. So I guess we'll kind of start off with kind of what has happened over the course of, this weekend. NFL playoffs
Absolutely
are here.
wild card. They call them
absolutely.
a wild card for a reason.
It is a wild card, though a little kind of less, crazy. But there were some crazy and chaotic things going on, as well as some upsets. But definitely, of course, I'm going to go over kind of a quick recap of kind of what happened. As you guys probably, how many games were there? Like 3 games on there?
Yeah, so 4.
Or 4? Actually, I think it was maybe 6 were probably on there.
Yeah.
There was 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. So kind of the ones we probably won't go over is the Packers-Eagles game. Eagles won 22-10, as well as the Bills-Broncos game. Both those games kind of went as expected, so I won't really cover those as much. So I guess we'll start off with our first one, and it's going to be the first game and the last game of Wildcard weekend, which was the Chargers versus the Texans and the Vikings versus the Rams. So I guess we'll kind of go over those 2 games were just not what I was expecting.
The Texans have looked better in that game against the Chargers than they have all season. I'll just go ahead and say that.
I mean,
controversial opinion.
I mean, that Texans defense was just amazing. I mean, I can't believe, I didn't think Justin Herbert would be that turnover prone, and a lot of it I'm not going to blame on Herbert. I would say he's like 50-50. It's on Herbert, and a lot of it might be also on the offense just being the receiving core at the Chargers is just not that great.
I mean, they got Ladd McConkey,
and then Quinn
Johnson. They have no receiver room, no tight end room.
No, they don't have any of that. And Quinn Johnson, I mean, he's basically the new Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah.
Like he can catch some balls, but then he'll just drop
He's
them.
not what he was drafted above 2 other fantastic
He was
receivers from the draft class.
like
Exactly.
Flowers and Addison. I can't believe they missed on them.
Yeah.
That's just
That's just upper management room
Yeah.
error.
So I don't think it's that much of a hot take to say that I don't blame Herbert a whole lot on this loss as I would for maybe some other quarterbacks. And for those who might be saying oh, he's 0-2, I don't blame him. The first loss, that's all Brandon Staley. His the 2023 where they blew a 27-point lead.
Yeah.
That's all Brandon Staley.
Well, that's why he got fired.
Well, I mean, let's not
No,
take the credit away from Houston because they went
No,
from
oh,
getting
no,
absolutely
absolutely,
spanked on.
They totally knew
Christmas
how to
by
get him.
Oh,
the
they got-
Ravens
they got
to
crushed.
showing out against the Chargers.
I mean, Beyonce was there, and they only put up 12 or 2 points.
Oh, man.
And
Yeah,
that was because of a safety.
They had one safety.
They had one highlight play on Christmas Day, and it was a safety.
I cannot.
And they turned it around, and they showed out, and now they're a playoff team going into a a divisional round. I mean, let's not take that away from them.
They
That's
were
a
talking
hard
about
thing
firing
to do.
their offensive coordinator.
I know
Yeah,
they were,
and
and that guy was like a head
he
coach
locked in.
candidate.
Yeah,
Last
and he
year.
locked right in.
He did. I mean, I will say that the offense was just kind of doing okay. I still think it was the defense that made the biggest difference in that play. I mean, the pick six and getting 4 to 5 turnovers. Yeah, that's incredible.
So where is that in my fantasy season?
I know, right?
I would say the real thing that it's fault that we're missing is the dirty bubble from the Nickelodeon broadcast
goodness,
that
I
captured
saw
Jim
that. I
Harbaugh
saw that
in the
over
first
Twitter.
half. After the dirty bubble captured Jim Harbaugh,
I know, they kidnapped
they
Harbaugh.
couldn't do anything.
Can
They
you
needed
find
their
the
head
map to
coach.
the end
We need
zone?
to find this dirty bubble and make sure he's not interfering in any
dude,
more
I-
playoff games.
I always enjoy the Nickelodeon bowl games. Those are
They're
fun.
goofy. I
They're
mean,
goofy.
they got Dora absolutely violating teams out here.
Absolutely. I guess following up with the Chargers meltdown, let's talk about the Monday night meltdown.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness.
That
I was
sad
hoping
to watch.
I was hoping that Minnesota would win so I didn't have to talk about this game as much. But man, do we have to
Sam
talk.
Darnold just
Here's the thing. I think Minnesota just in general was just terrible in that game. I mean, Like
I understand the location got moved due to the California
but
wildfire.
even
That's
then-
not good. But they weren't
not-
going to play at home anyway.
Exactly. They should have been going.
The Rams defense.
They had more of a home
That
crowd
turn-
showing than they would have.
dude, that Rams defense looked like they still had Aaron Donald playing for them.
Exactly.
Which is insane because it's the cheapest defense in the
No,
NFL.
like
the Rams
legitimately,
defense.
like I don't know who the D coordinator is for the Rams, but they need to get credit for that. Like
Yeah.
that is like shutting down that Vikings offense is really impressive, and the fact that Sam Darnold was pressured so much during that game, like he had like a fumble and a pick. I was like as much as I want to blame Darnold, like I just think the offense in general just got
I have
shut
to say
down.
it
I
brought
don't
me
even
right
think,
back.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting. I don't even think that they got shut down. They couldn't get going to begin
No.
with.
They couldn't. Like they had
Like-
one touchdown, and like I saw a stat that said like Darnold had one touchdown the past 2 games compared to him having like 35 touchdowns
Yeah.
the whole season.
Like, I mean, obviously, like, Sam Darnold was never the long-term solution. And, I mean, let's be honest, the majority of the Viking season was them just playing silly games with Sam Darnold.
And he had the best supporting cast basically
Yeah,
a quarterback
he
could have
did.
right
I
now.
think so.
When the offensive line was pressured, it brought me right back to when Darnold was a Panther. He would get pressure in his face because our O-line is terrible, and he would do a turnover on the
That's
ball.
why I
This
kind
is
of-
who Darnold is if he doesn't have a perfect
Exactly.
environment with
I
him.
think. Well, the thing is, I think it's a bit different because I really think the Vikings offensive line just had a really bad game. Because I think Darnold, in some cases this season, under pressure, was actually improved. Like he stepped into the pocket and would throw dimes even when he was like pressured. But like this was just constant pressure. And this is his first playoff game, so we gotta kind of understand that this is like really tough environment now.
I mean,
but
if you want to
I
talk
get-
about first playoff games.
I know.
Another game that happened this weekend, obviously, was the Commanders versus the Buccaneers. It was Jaden Daniels' first playoff
He
game.
played great.
And he played amazing.
No, he played great. I think
He played like everybody expected Sam Darnold to
I think
play.
the difference is with that though is that Daniels is a more mobile quarterback and is a playmaker, so he
Yeah.
can make plays down the stretch. And he, unlike Sam Darnold, who kind of works with the pocket, he's a bit mobile too. But
He's
like
a pocket passer.
Yeah,
At the
he's
end of the day, he's not a dual threat quarterback.
no, he's not a dual threat
He
quarterback.
is very much so still a pocket passer, and at the risk of contradicting myself here in the future, that is a dying quarterback type in the NFL.
Oh, it is. It is definitely like if you are just like a cinder block under center, you need to get that ball out quickly. Like you got to be a quick releaser. Like
And Sam
And he
Darnold
was holding
does
the
not
ball
have,
for
yeah.
too long.
He was
Sam Darnold
He
does
got
not have
sacked
the wide
6
receiver
times,
core.
and a lot of them were just because he would not throw the ball.
He had receivers open, but
Yeah.
either he didn't have the trust in himself,
or
I
yeah.
think the head coach is also partially to blame too,
I
because
think
when his
Kevin-
quarterback was
this
melting
is
down,
this is was it who's the
Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell. This is his second playoff appearance.
Yeah.
And this was kind of similar, maybe not as like, maybe, I don't know if it was that heartbreaking, like to the Giants with Kirk Cousins, because this was probably worse just because of how good they were. Like this year, they won 14 games as a wild card team.
Yeah.
And we were arguing like, hey, if a team wins 14 games and then win their division, they should still get a home playoff game other than like the NFC South champion or even the lowest seed who barely won their division.
yeah.
That argument kind
And-
of got torpedoed.
That kind of got torpedoed, though there was like reports about them looking into that, but just terrible like that. I don't know. We'll probably
he cost
talk.
himself a lot of money.
He did. We'll talk about that more as we get closer to the off season. But definitely that's poor. Just
Poor Darnold's agent.
Yep.
He's
Poor-
probably crying into his phone.
oh, he is like.
So
Yeah.
I think that at the end of that game, I think the one question that was answered was Sam Darnold.
J.J. McCarthy.
Sam Darnold was
The thing
not
is,
the
I
franchise
will
quarterback the
say
Vikings were
this
looking
is
for.
that if with McCarthy, the one thing that I definitely am a bit skeptical is definitely like him in terms of like going into being plugged into that offense immediately and them expecting either similar if not better results, because that's a lot to push into a first time.
It is, but he sat for a whole year.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
draft him for a reason. At this point, you just have to let
I
him
know,
play
you
and see
either-
what happens. If
it-
he's bad,
he's bad.
they can
and
explore a different
yeah.
solution. But
I just think
you
I
miss
just think
100%
that
of the shots you don't take.
Yes,
so
yes.
I guess
at this
so.
point, throw him in
Well,
and
the
see what
Washington
happens.
I definitely would say I would definitely be looking into that as a Vikings, being like, do we because Darnold's also still in his 20s, so he is still
Young, he's moldable.
yeah. So
He can
you
learn.
can't.
But it's just a question of if like a bad team like the Raiders or something, you're gonna see that and say, hey, maybe we can get that
I don't know if
14
the
game winning
I don't
guy.
think
Yeah.
the
And
I think the Raiders want
but-
to start stretch and like genuinely get a young quarterback, whereas
The Raiders are in the same position the Commanders were in last season.
yeah, they want to like actually start
And
from
the
like
Giants.
yeah.
There are a few QB.
The Giants are still in the position from last season.
All right, I
not
think-
improve.
All right, so just to hit our categories. All right, I think we'll move on from the quarterback miss that we were talking about and talk about the other game that Saturday.
Talk about some good quarterbacks.
We'll talk about some good quarterbacks. Let's talk about like the Steelers and the Ravens game because this one will be short because I definitely have a bit of a rant. Now I'm not a Steelers fan, though I am a bit. I have some relatives from the
He's
Western
a
Pennsylvania.
Steelers fan by proxy.
Yeah.
Not really. I kind of. But I guess I'll talk about kind of with the Steelers and their kind of thing. That game, I knew that game kind of was over once the Ravens just constantly ran the ball. Like
The Steelers defense could not stop
they
Derrick
couldn't
Henry.
stop him. Like that run pass
They couldn't
option.
stop Lamar either.
No,
for
the run
life of
pass
them.
option was just like they didn't. Like they always expected to go to Henry, even though Lamar like took it like probably 5 straight times.
Yeah.
I was reading that the Ravens locker room was laughing at the Steelers after the game.
I would
they
too.
deserved it. I would,
I
be
would too. I
Because
would.
they couldn't figure out they immediately figured out what plays they were calling, and they for the rest of the game
Like, that is
they
the-
knew what they were doing.
By the way, the Steelers, which is weird because Pittsburgh teams are not really known for spending money, but the Steelers had by far the most expensive defense, probably out of anybody. And
And they sucked.
they got
I'll say it. They
they
sucked.
were not good.
they
They were terrible in that
Russ
game.
did not cook.
like once it was 21-0, I was like, dude, this game is over. And the Ravens did take their foot a little off the gas pedal, but
Made it a little bit more presentable.
like the scoreboard did not tell the full story. Like the Ravens just took them down.
Yeah.
Like they completely
They started resting starters and
like
Yeah.
Curb Herbstreit, like the color commentator was talking about it, and he's like, "There's just no fight with this team." And I was like, "They just look like they don't care. Like they checked out after going 10-3."
yeah.
Which sounds like a coaching problem.
And that's the
but
thing I'm going to
There's
talk
no
about.
fire in their boilers. Like
No,
they
and
have
I'm
no
gonna
drive.
I'm
to
gonna
go
say it right
anywhere.
now. That what is it? Mike Tomlin. And I'm usually very different. I'm usually very more higher on Mike Tomlin because I think he is a very good coach.
winning record.
He has a winning record every year, and though it can be an overrated stat from time to time, depending on who you're playing those years, because the Steelers win those games in like the most 1930s, 50s
Yeah.
football way. Like they barely win those games, not because their offense did something incredible. No, it was terrible. And I'm gonna have to say it because it's every year with the Steelers. They have not won a playoff game since 2018. And the only reason why they're in the divisional round that year is because they got a bye week. They've lost to Jacksonville. They missed the playoffs in 2018. They've missed it in 2019. They had the 12-0 thing where they they got curb stomped by the Browns.
Yeah.
And then they lucked their way again into making the playoffs as the 7th seed against the Chiefs. Got crushed. And then they missed the playoffs in 22. And then in 23 last year, again, 7th seed, stomped by the Bills, and the same thing every year.
They're stuck in mediocrity,
Yeah.
and they keep going through this journeyman quarterback route.
They're never
Yeah.
going to change.
Since
And-
They
Ben
need a
retired, they have
franchise
not
I'm gonna
done
have to
anything
say it
to
right now.
find him.
I think
Kenny
this-
Pickett was the only guy. they
Yeah,
drafted.
and
they gave up on him after
like 2 seasons.
well,
yeah, 2 seasons.
I don't think Kenny Pickett's going to be a starter. in
Well, the thing
NFL,
is, they
but-
didn't even think they didn't even give him a chance with a new offense,
Yeah.
new offensive coordinator or anything. I don't know how was it Arthur Smith or who?
Arthur Smith, yes.
Arthur Smith is going to do with him, but still, I just can't with that. And then I'm going to have to say it as probably the final thing for the segment. My take on the Steelers, which they probably aren't going to do it because they've been doing this thing where they always think they can go back to the past
Yeah.
and it will help them create this Steeler way. It's kind of
terrible towel.
the terrible towns. They think it's still the 1970s.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2025.
2025. We got to make some changes.
I'm going to have to say it right now. They should blow it all up. Get rid of everybody.
Start from scratch.
Start from scratch. Get whatever you can. And I know they're not going to do it because they probably have already said that they're keeping Mike McCarthy or not
Mike
McCarthy,
Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin, different coach
We'll talk about later.
got let go. But just they should blow it up. Like if T.J. Watt, good player, you can get a lot from him. Same thing with Mike Tomlin if you decide to trade him. Russ, I would honestly look at Justin Fields and say, let's give him a shot for a season.
Tank Commander Fields.
And if it doesn't work, you get one. The 2026 draft class is going to be better with quarterbacks, I think.
Yeah.
So you might have a chance at Arch if he decides to come to the league. But
Arch Manning will come to the league.
yeah. We don't know when. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, we'll see how Texas is.
But blow it up.
Quinn Ewers declared from the draft. That's a
that's
perfectly
headline.
viable quarterback.
You can get him. I mean, I would.
You could get him in the 3rd round.
You probably could, Jackson Dart. But yeah, just blow it up. They need to blow it up. It's the same old situation with the Steelers. Same old Steelers. Same old everything. All right. I think we covered that one. I just wanted to get that.
Dom's rant about the Steelers.
Yes,
I definitely want to talk about that because it's the same thing, and it's funny because my mom's a Steeler fan, and she definitely is. Well, she's not really like glued as much as like maybe my other relatives, but it's just definitely All right, I think Jacob would like this one. We're gonna talk about the Sunday night game that was Commanders Bucks.
My time to shine, baby.
I'll let Jacob take it away.
I mean, obviously, the Commanders' first playoff game since 2020, and we showed out. Obviously, it was a great game. Jaden Daniels looked incredible out there. Guy got cut in the first quarter, and I mean, it's just badass. I don't know. Not even just the offense looked good. The defense looked good, recovering key fumbles at critical points that, in all honesty, probably won us the game. Definitely. Obviously, we had some injuries, but obviously going into against
I think it was evenly matched because the Buccaneers were definitely coming into this game a bit limpy too. They were no Chris Godwin, so I thought that definitely made it like a balanced matchup because I definitely think it would be more of a mismatch because you would be focusing on Evans, who would be working against Lattimore, whereas Baker.
And we all saw how that
Lattimore was getting.
I mean, he got the he did not put the clampers on.
No,
he had one job, and that was to put the clampers on Mike Evans and make it entertaining.
That is easier said than done.
It is. It is. I mean, Mike Evans is like one of the best receivers, definitely of the 2010s and definitely now the 2020s, but Hall of Famer.
Definitely.
I mean, talking about good receivers, obviously Scary Terry with the fourth quarter touchdown.
He was great.
He was great.
Which is like,
but let's
years.
not ignore De'Ami Brown showed out on Sunday night.
He definitely was.
De'Ami Brown showed that he belonged on this team. And
One
a lot
of the
of
few
people,
Ron Rivera draft picks.
Yeah, one of the only good Ron Rivera draft picks that was actually good. And now he's going up against Amon St. Brown, this weekend on Saturday against Detroit. And obviously that's a matchup that I want to see. I want to see who gets the better
It's going to be
yards.
hard. I think the lines in that matchup, which we'll talk about divisional soon, it's going to be hard because Jameson Williams is going to be definitely hard to do that because his speed is an
interesting game.
As the Commanders are preparing this week for Detroit, I will say this. All of the Commanders fans, we are just happy to be here. We want more,
it's definitely,
but we're happy with what we've accomplished.
It's good to see.
This is a good season
This
regardless.
is a great season.
I would say
last year we went from Riverboat Ron and 4-13.
Hey, respect
Dan Snyder.
And Dan Snyder, we got rid of Dan Snyder and we completely rebuilt. We got Dan Quinn, we got Cliff Kingsbury.
I will say Dan Quinn was definitely one hire that I was very skeptical about.
A lot of people were.
And
that was getting flamed.
I definitely would say that's a great hell of a job by
Culture
Quinn.
builder.
Culture builder, yes, exactly. And I mean, I hear all of this talk about, it's like the Commanders are a college offense. It works.
It works.
It works really well. We have a college
for a young quarterback. Yeah.
The air raid, it's something that Cliff tried to did in Arizona with Murray, and it didn't work the first year in terms of playoff success, and eventually it did kind of work. But I think it was just
I just think Cliff's a better offensive coordinator.
He's just a
than
better
he's
coordinator.
at this point.
Exactly.
Maybe that'll improve.
And I mean, Cliff Kingsbury said that Jaden Daniels and working with him and the Commanders' offense has rekindled his love for football, and it's going to take a lot for him to leave the Commanders. So I think us as Commanders fans,
and I think
probably keep him at least
I
one
just
more
think
year.
he has
keep him for a long.
I just think. I think he has a good there. I mean, I really do. He doesn't have to go to a team where he has to like people were talking about the Bears. He has to figure out with all of that type of stuff.
He's got to figure out the Bears' defense and the offense.
He's got to figure out the offensive line, and which is better in Washington. It's more consistent there. I guess my only question is, I had this kind of in my notes is, are the Commanders real, or is this just a one-year wonder situation?
No, we are back. We are back. We
All
are
right.
back. We are so back. We are Joe Gibbs era back.
Make sure you guys tune in next year too for football, because that would be interesting to see how all of our teams do for the season.
Yeah. But I mean, I think Dan Quinn did what the Vikings need to do. The Vikings and the Steelers need to take a good hard look at what Dan Quinn did last offseason to prepare for this next upcoming season because what he did worked.
It worked. Like, the
It worked
defense is.
well.
I'm surprised because that defensive unit it's very underrated
He's
because
incredibly underrated.
And it was
Deron
like-
Payne, Frankie Louvu.
Frankie
I knew
Louvu,
he was going to
we
be
shouldn't have
good.
let him go,
I
but he
knew
wanted
Frankie
to play for
Louvu-
Dan Quinn because he thought his scheme was better for
I
him.
Because
really-
it is.
Yeah.
That was him in getting rid of a bunch of like defensive players, which is why the Panthers had like a really bad one.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
we're
we
gonna
kinda
head
had to
into
do
our
it.
final one here. We're done talking about the Commanders. They're a good team.
For now.
All right, let's go ahead and get the. We're
next
gonna take a shortcut here. We're gonna talk about some predictions here. So we're gonna go and talk about divisional round. So big time thing. So our first matchup, I'm gonna actually pull it up here. Actually, I know it already. So let's talk about Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs.
It'll be the Chiefs.
It'll be the
but it
Chiefs.
will not be a very high-scoring game. It'll be a defensive battle.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the Texans' defense absolutely locking in, I think that if they can get into the Chiefs' heads early, they can get a couple
That's
sacks,
just hard
maybe
to
a
do.
pick. It's hard to
hard
do.
to get into Mahomes'
But
head.
if they can do it, if they can shake Mahomes' confidence in his passing game and they default to the running game,
Which isn't as good.
which
this
is
year.
not as
No.
strong this year because, I mean, who do they have in their running back room?
Well, they have
It's
Pacheco,
just
which he
Pacheco.
was
He's all right, but he also broke his.
He is coming back from injury,
Yeah.
so he would be maybe a bit.
It'll be
ro-
shaky.
It'll be shaky. I definitely think. I don't know.
But I mean, in terms of receiver room, who do you got? You got Hollywood Brown and
They got the guy they drafted, Worthy.
Worthy. They
Xavier
definitely.
Worthy,
Yeah,
and I
Xavier
mean,
Worthy.
Travis Kelce, and I mean,
Travis Kelce. He's
that's
getting
three
kinda
notable
old.
They
players.
need to focus on what they kind of do. One, I don't know. They need to make sure they limit Kelsey in
Yeah.
terms of that,
Yep.
and just make sure C.J. Stroud needs to not make any mistakes.
No, C.J. Stroud
No.
cannot make any mistakes.
Which is the
going
thing
into this.
that's has me a bit because he's had a bit of a sophomore
Oh,
slump
he's been
in
having
terms
a
of
summer.
playing.
Like, even,
he
like-
played great last week, but
I-
the Chiefs' defense
I'm not-
brings a lot of pressure.
Well, they bring a lot of pressure, but I think we saw this in.
We saw this the week before they played on Christmas.
They do
Yeah.
not have depth.
No.
When they're resting starters, they are a terrible team.
We saw this matchup earlier this year, and it was closer than what like the result would tell you. Like the score was like 27-19, I think, Chiefs, and C.J. Stroud played, and that was when they did lose Tank Dell to injury
Yeah.
in that game.
That was sad.
Very sad.
Very sad.
Very sad for my fantasy as well.
Hope you get well at Tank Dell. But anyway,
Prayers to Tank Dell.
but anyway, for that, it just depends on C.J. Stroud because I believe that Texans defense will like make sure that the Chiefs, who have not been playing at a great rate on offense, will keep them kind of in check. But it depends on that offense. I believe C.J. Stroud and them have a better offense. They don't have a better offensive line, but they definitely have better receivers. They have Nico Collins, had a breakout year this year, and they have a better running back in Joe Mixon. They can win this. This is
not out of the reach.
This is
for
not out of
them
the reach.
No.
There is a chance that the Chiefs could lose this game.
I just think it's a higher chance the
I-
Chiefs are going to win this game.
Yeah.
especially with the way the referee calls
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Chiefs.
Yeah, glazing Mahomes. Anyway, I think we all picked Chiefs with this one, but we're
Yep.
saying it will be close. I'm going to
It
say
will be a close
Chiefs.
game.
I'm going to say Chiefs by 3. What do you guys think?
I'm going to say Chiefs by 7.
I'll say Chiefs by 3, and it'll be something ridiculous. It'll be a blocked field goal.
Botch snap.
It'll be a doinked in, a botch snap. It'll be something stupid.
The football gods,
Yeah.
just
The football
saying,
gods take no mercy on
Yeah.
any of us.
Yeah.
All right. So we got that one out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get into the other matchup of that night. I believe, yes, it is Commanders Lions that night. So
All right, so this is one that I've been thinking long and hard
Uh-huh.
all week. I'm going to take the Commanders.
Wow.
okay.
What
I'm
a
going to take
shocker.
the Commanders, not just because I'm a fan. I'm going to take the
I
Commanders.
will say I don't disagree with you that is a really good possibility just because of how the NFL can be sometimes with its like.
Not even that. All right, so this is going to be some crazy logic, but
Okay.
it's logic.
Okay.
In every game that the Commanders have gone up against a top-tier team that is in the playoffs currently, I mean, you take a look at the Eagles, we have beat them in the fourth quarter because our defense has kept it competitive. We've shut down the running game, we've shut down the passing game when it needs to be done, and then we make critical plays that get us the ball with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and it's a one-score game, and then we go in and we make the plays that make it happen to put us ahead by a little bit. Jaden Daniels excels at those last-minute fourth-quarter drives.
I would
But
definitely.
so does Jared Goff.
I would say
Jared
that
Goff is a clutch quarterback.
And the thing is, they got to keep it within range because that offense is really hard to
The
keep.
Detroit offense is a scary
and they have David
offense.
Montgomery coming back.
Yeah, they
too.
got
He will
Sonic and
become-
Knuckles, man. They got.
He'll come back, but I do not think that if Detroit is
Watch for the hook and ladder because they are
Yeah,
really
tricky.
good.
And I mean, obviously, as we're talking right now up in Landover, the Commanders are talking the same stuff we're talking. Like they're going over it. They're learning how to shut down the run game. They're prepping their corners.
I do
think
Amon St. Brown.
Prepare
The Lions'
for-
defense is very hurt still.
Yeah, they are
which is
very
they
injury
have
prone.
they have better depth than some teams, so they have decent guys on there. But it's still not as good as the beginning of the year, so I could see the Commanders exploiting that.
This will
I just
be a
think the
high-scoring
Lions'
game.
offense is so good that it's going to be hard for the Commanders to keep up with that themselves.
I think this-
especially if
yeah.
Lattimore keeps getting cooked by Amon-Ra.
I believe that he will take what he learned. He's got no emotion with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay.
So he will hopefully police Marshawn Lattimore lock in.
Okay. All right. I think we're good on that one. We're gonna be all right. So I think our predictions here. I'm gonna go with Lions just
I'm gonna
because
go with Lions.
I think it's a safe pick. You're gonna go with.
Commanders, and it'll be a high-scoring game.
I'm gonna
It'll
say
be a
Lions by
high-scoring game.
7. I think the Commanders will keep it close, but I think the Lions will pull through. I think-
Commanders by 3.
Lions by 3.
Okay. We're going to head on to the final two. We'll do these lightning round ones because we're running out of time here, but we're going to do the Eagles and Rams. I'm just going to give you my prediction quickly. I think Eagles win this one. I think the Rams are good, but I think Saquon right now is just that's scary. Like even then,
Saquon is scary, but I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Eagles on that one.
I'm going to say
But
Eagles by 7 as well.
I'm going to go with Eagles by 14.
I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to go with the Rams.
You're
I'm
gonna
going to
take
go
the
with
Rams?
I'm going to go with my guy
think that-
Matthew Stafford,
Okay.
greatest quarterback in UGA history.
Okay.
He is a
Okay.
playoff
Better than Stetson
legend.
Bennett?
He
Yeah.
always plays well. Their defense, as we saw, was fantastic against the Vikings. If they can bring that against the Eagles,
But I think the
I
difference
would think
is
it's possible.
Jalen Hurts is like that.
Jalen Hurts is back.
Like Jalen Hurts is that Jalen Hurts and Barkley, like whatever they do, like they're just as dangerous as Detroit is on that play, but they have a healthier defense. And remember that's different. I think the difference between Darnold and Hurts is night and day. So
the difference between Darnold and Stafford is night and day in terms of against Stafford is fantastic against the blitz, which is another thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that I'm 100% sure this is going to happen, but I think there's a good chance the Rams could pull off an upset.
okay.
here.
All right, let's get to our final one, which is going to be the was it the final? Oh yeah, it's going to be the game of the week probably. Ravens Bills. God, I wish we had time to talk about this one, but it's going to be good. We'll have time to talk about it post game for sure. But I'm gonna. Oh God. I'm gonna take Bills by 3. Oh, I just think Josh Allen is. Oh, he's
Really?
playing. He's really playing.
He's playing well.
I could see the Ravens winning this game as well. It's in Buffalo, by the way. It's in Buffalo, so we have to take in the fact that Buffalo has that.
But Derrick Henry is
Derrick
a
Henry.
beast
Yeah,
on the
but they
running
have it.
game. And Lamar Jackson.
Lamar
MVP.
Jackson, a beast.
I mean,
Allen's
they
been
got
playing
two,
well, so is
Lamar's been playing better.
Yeah.
As good as Josh Allen is playing, Lamar Jackson's been playing better. And I think you got two great options on the run. Either you keep it with Lamar, or you hand it off to Henry. And I mean, let's be honest, who on the Bills defense is gonna be able to figure
It's going to
that
be a
out?
high-scoring game.
It'll
All
be
right,
another
yeah.
high-scoring game.
All right. Why don't you guys give your
yeah.
picks right here so we can.
I'm gonna go Ravens by 7.
I'm going to go Ravens by 3.
All right. And for our final segment, we're going to do the national championship. We're not going to do what we did for the NFL games. We're just all going to say it. I think Ohio State's going to win this game. I don't want them to. I would like to see Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's just going to. It's going to be another Alabama Notre Dame like game where you just, yeah.
I'm gonna go against you here. I'm gonna say Notre Dame. I want Notre Dame to take it all the way.
I hope they do. It's just that. I don't know. Notre Dame's definitely the weakest
I
one.
think
out.
OSU has been on a bit of a decline, so I think Notre Dame has a shot
They've
to come in
been
here.
doing well
if
in
they
the-
rattle them early.
Yeah.
If they rattle them early. Remember, these guys are the same age as us.
Yeah.
You know, if OSU feels that the game is starting to slip away from them early,
Like, like against Michigan,
yeah,
when the pressure
against
got
Michigan,
to them.
and the pressure got against them, they folded. If Notre Dame can score 2 touchdowns in a row, I think that'll give them the drive that they need to go and realize, hey, OSU is not the big bad giant we thought they were. We can take them.
I'm still going to take OSU because I think they're a pretty high-scoring offense.
have-
I
they-
think Notre Dame can play a good game. They beat Georgia twice, or not twice, but they beat Georgia. And I think Ohio State just has better players, though, on the side of the ball. And if they don't get rattled, I'm pretty sure they're going to come away with the victory.
I think so. Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. kind of similar to what Owen said. But that is, in fact, going to do it for today's episode of We Talk Sports, presented by WeTV. Thank you guys so much for joining me. You might see Jacob recurring as a co-host, along with my very, very lovely co-host, Owen Fleming.
Thank you, Dom.
I'm Dom Sayani, the host of We Talk Sports, and I'll see you guys next week.
Go Cats!
Woo!